While creators and campaigns are doing critical work to raise awareness about mental health, platforms themselves play an equally vital role in shaping healthy, thriving online spaces. This next session takes us inside Discord's evidence-based approach to promoting well-being across its massive, pervasive user base. From group chats to game nights, Discord has become one of the most influential social platforms for gamers today, connecting millions of users across communities, interests, and age groups. Today, we're joined by Patricia Noel, Mental Health Policy Manager at Discord and a licensed social worker, and Dr. Rachel Kowert, a research psychologist, strategic advisor at Discord, visiting researcher at the University of Cambridge, and Games for Change Award winner. Together, they'll share findings from a new study of more than 1,000 Discord users, what people are really saying about how online communities affect their mental health, what tools they find most useful, and how this data is shaping Discord's product decisions, especially for moderators and community leaders who set the tone every day. Let's welcome Patricia and Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. We are so excited to be here. Yes, we had a great intro. I'm so happy to be here with Dr. Rachel Kowert, our Vanguard winner last night, and we'll be talking about some of the research findings from Discord. Okay, so for those who might not be familiar, Discord is a communications platform that enables people to build meaningful connections around the joy of playing games through chat, video, and text features. And we're seeing that overall, increasingly, online spaces and gaming spaces are becoming important spaces for people to explore their interests, find community, and develop support. And at Discord, we actually have a holistic approach to ensuring that folks are able to do so through a suite of built-in features, settings, and tools, such as our Teen Safety Assist, which is default enabled on for teens, and it allows teens to take a pause, consider their options, and decide what kind of content that they want to see and engage with on the platform. We also have our warning system, which emphasizes our belief in transparency and rehabilitation, as it provides users with multiple touch points so that they can know a little bit more about their rule violations and allows them to be better digital citizens in the future. And we have our Teen Charter, which are a set of 4 principles. I don't know if you're able to see it, but it's authenticity, privacy, inclusivity, and transparency. And these are 4 principles that were created by teens, for teens, their peers, and Discord as expectations and what they expect to engage in and have for being on online spaces. And through partnerships with Crisis Text Line and Throughline, we are showing our commitment to user well-being, ensuring that our users have access to accessible resources in their areas. So that's a little bit about our tools and our features, and we wanted to make sure that we heard directly from our users themselves, especially as we lean to learn a little bit more about their well-being. And so in 2024, not 2014, we commissioned BSG, a strategic consultancy firm, to support us with research where we saw over 112 participants, Discord users, stemming from 13 plus. And there were different aspects to it. We had a week-long journal, so that was qualitative, and then we did about a 12-minute survey, which was the quantitative aspect. And our objectives were to understand users' mental health status, understand how time on Discord relates to users' mental health, and identify resources and features to support and serve users' mental health. So here's some of what we found. We saw that people are talking about mental health online and offline at a similar rate. So if you can see, you'll see for that top circle, it says, how often do you talk about mental health offline with people face-to-face? It's about 60% for often and sometimes. And then that lower circle is 57% for online with people in your community. So there's about a 3% difference. We also saw that people view playing games online and social media and online platforms as 2 distinct experiences, with gaming platforms such as Discord more positively impacting the mental health. We asked users which of the following activities are most important to supporting your mental health, and we saw that the highest chosen activity was playing games online at 66%, and then closely following was 56% for playing sports or exercising, and 54% with connecting with friends and family face-to-face. Then we also learned that users saw our tools such as muting, blocking, and reporting as supportive tools for them online and allowing, again, that user choice and agency. And they said that it allowed them to feel more supportive in their mental health because they were able to take direct actions on things that were happening on the platform. And on top of that, we also learned that moderators play a huge role on their experience in all of these platforms, which I think could be widely understood for any online platform that allows users to interact with one another. So this research really allowed us to fully understand what we already knew, that gaming and online spaces are allowing there to be facilitation on hobbies such as gaming, but also allowing them to connect and find support. And this just allowed us to know a little bit more about how we can support them and see them. You can scan this QR code here. It might not work. If not, you can find it on our website at the same title, Promoting Wellbeing Through Online Communities. You can Google that. And you'll be able to read a little bit more about those findings that we had. But we wanted to do, so it didn't work, yeah. Okay, yeah, you can find it online. We wanted to do a little bit more with the moderator work because we were really intrigued on how the moderators, our volunteer community moderators in particular, were seeing mental health on their side and what more we can do for themselves. So with that, I'll pass it on over to Dr. Rachel Kowert.
Thank you. So as Patricia said, we wanted to build on that work and look at the role of moderators, how they're experiencing mental health on their servers, and how we can best support them doing their jobs as community leaders on Discord. There were 3 objectives. The first was to analyze the ways mental health shows up on Discord. As Patricia mentioned in that earlier research, we know that people are talking online just as much as they are talking offline about mental health. So what does that look like on a Discord server? We also wanted to understand moderator roles as they self-define them. How do they see their role? What do they see as their role? Because we have to know what their role is in order to know how to support them in that role, which was the third pillar. We were interested in assessing what training needs do you need? What do you have? What can we provide for you to help you best lead your communities? So we're going to go through kind of the top level findings. There will be a full report later in the year. This is a Games for Change exclusive. Nobody has seen this data before. It's always so exciting to present fresh data, so enjoy. We did an online survey. We surveyed 539 participants, which is the largest survey of Discord moderators ever conducted. 49 countries were represented, and there were a wide range of ages, 13 to 65. Most participants had early to mid-level levels of experience being a moderator between 1 to 6 years, but most of them also had been on Discord for a significant amount of time, 6 to 10 years, and to put that in perspective, Discord is 10 years old. We asked what topic does your server center on, and you can see gaming far and above was the most common, reinforcing this idea that Discord is the social layer of gaming. But of course, a Discord server can center on anything, general chat, creative hobbies, Balatro, that falls in gaming, I think. So question 1, how does mental health show up on your server? Organically was by and large the number 1 that we saw. Mental health resources, about 1/5 of moderators said we offer mental health resources in some kind of formal way on our server, and less than that, about 15% said they had a dedicated mental health channel. Although I think the most interesting bar on this bar graph is the last one, which is mental health does not show up, and only 1 in 4 moderators said that. So in 3 out of 4 Discord servers, mental health is showing up as a topic of discussion, and most often it's happening organically. So these are not servers that have dedicated channels or resources, it's just people talking about life. If you've seen me speak before, you know I like to say the phrase online and offline is a false dichotomy, and this again reinforces it. We're just talking about everyday things, and mental health is part of that. So question 1 was, how does mental health show up on your server? Question 2 is, what is a moderator? Now, the first question we asked when we asked them to define what a moderator is was, are moderators community managers? Because if you look at the research, they're used interchangeably. I have worked with community managers before and moderators, and my research spidey sense had me sensing they're not the same. But the fact that they're used interchangeably, I wanted to hear from them and have them self-define, do you think you are the same thing? More than 90% said, no, we are not the same thing. And then we had an open answer question and said, what makes you different? We did a thematic analysis, and these are like the pillars that emerged of what makes them different. role type, focus, responsibilities, the level in which they interact with their community, leadership role, strategic role, public voice, and cross-platform work. TLDR, moderators are volunteers. They see themselves as the gardeners of their individual community, whereas community managers are more umbrella, strategic, paid, large scope, across platforms. And I think that the work that we did together at Discord, all of it, I'm going to say, is interesting because I think it is, but I think that this is particularly interesting because if anybody is growing a community, a gaming community or game adjacent, it's important to know that there are different levels of community leaders and they see themselves in different roles across a variety of different aspects. So if they're not community managers, what are moderators? Another open-ended question, which we did a thematic analysis to pull out the themes. Moderators see themselves in their roles aligning across these 5 dimensions: rule keeper, peacemaker, caretaker, vibe maker, and bridge maker. And on the next 5 slides, I'm going to show the definition that we've come up for each of these kind of responsibilities, and I'm also going to highlight a quote from the research that illustrates one of the quotes that we drew from to create these different pillars. Rule keeper, by and large, by far the most common theme that emerged. Moderators are seen as individuals who uphold the server rules and enforce standards clearly and consistently. And if we went back, I won't go back, but to the slide that said moderator community managers, under responsibility there it was rule keeper, right? They're moderating and they're following, making sure participants, community members follow the rules. We are seen as responsible for keeping the server safe, navigating conflicts, and upholding rules. But in addition to upholding the rules, they also self-identify themselves as peacemakers. We also have to moderate the conflict in between the people while upholding the rules. We mediate conflicts, de-escalate tensions, and foster understanding among server members. We are seen as someone in a neutral position that monitors the servers. But it's not all just rules. There's also a lot of love. Anyone who's in a Discord community or an online community knows there's a lot of love from the moderators. They're individuals who offer support. They check in on members' well-being and help members feel seen, safe, and offer mentorship. It is a great responsibility to provide security, there's like the rule taker, peacemaker, but also care for a community and its members. Now these first 3, rule taker, peacemaker, caretaker, are all kind of individual. And despite the fact that they do see their roles primarily as individual, there are some more community-wide roles that they take on. One is vibe maker. The word vibe came up a lot, which is why we use this phrase. Individuals who create and preserve the tone, culture, and unique feel of the community. Not to go back to Balatro, right? But if you're on multiple Balatro servers, they'll have a different vibe, and that's the leadership that's driving that. They're seen as someone who shapes the feel and vibe of a community. Last but not least, bridge maker, the liaison between members and administrators, new and established members, and members and external resources when appropriate. We are seen as people who guide newcomer users to the community by directing them to specific channels for further information. So now that we know what the roles are, how they're self-identifying, what they see as their roles and responsibilities, taking that in context of what we know they are, I don't want to say exposed to, what their communities are bringing up in these chats, things around mental health, what can we do as Discord to best support you in these roles as a rule maker and a caretaker? What would you like to see in terms of training or education or resources? We gave them a list of more than 20, I think, options. And these are some of the ones that bubbled up to the top. How to moderate sensitive topics, de-escalation training. You'll notice a lot of these actually center around the caretaking aspect of the role of a moderator, coping strategies for social and emotional support, boundary setting, personal and professional, empathetic listening, and resources for online well-being services. And the resources one I found interesting because if you remember from earlier in the presentation, only 20% of these servers are offering resources, but most of the servers are seeing mental health discussions happening in their space. So it might just be a matter of knowing what vetted resources to provide to their community because sometimes the internet's noisy and you need to know where to point them. So the big takeaways is that gaming is a vital space for connection and mental health support. There are different ways in which we can use the gaming space to support mental health. You can integrate supportive features, things like mental health tooling. Again, only 15% of people said they had that on their server. We can invest in community structure, things like training and workshops and education for your community leaders, and also cross-industry collaboration. So this research was done Discord specific, but there are certainly some universal themes that could be taken and applied to anybody who has an online community. Now, as I mentioned, the research is not out yet, but it will be soon. In the meantime, you can ask Patricia and I any questions that you have about that. And thank you for your time.